Okay, welcome to the Derech Eretz Nix, formerly known as Amaratim. We're not going to call you Amaratim anymore. Call you Derech Eretz Nix. Welcome to this this edition of Yoma Samach Daled, Yoma 64, the Dati Leumi edition. Today for Derech Eretz, I wanted to talk about an interesting topic. A couple of years ago, I don't have much of a hand in shidduchim, making shidduchim. So I never really was successful. I think I tried once. I set someone up, they went out one time, they never went out again. The guy told me it was a complete miss, complete failure. So I had a little project a couple of years ago. Someone approached me here in Telstone. Someone I knew growing up. He's a little bit of a nerd. Not the coolest guy in the world, but he told me he was married and his wife has a sister. So I asked a little bit about her. He said she's Chardal. Basically means she graduated from Stern YU. Stern is the women's YU program. I think she works. She's Chardal, which means Chareidi Dati Leumi. She's Dati Leumi with a little bit closer to Chareidi, more adherence to Torah and mitzvos. So he wanted to know if I had any ideas for her. She was older, in her 30s. If maybe I had an idea for a shidduch for her. So I asked the question that I thought was very important. How does she look? What her looks like. He says she's a 9 out of 10. I said 9 out of 10 is pretty good, especially a guy who's from Chareidi guy. He gives 9 out of 10, it means she really had an impression on him. So I said, okay. So I asked around my family, and it turns out my brother-in-law has a brother in his late 30s. He's Chareidi. As you know, my wife's family is Chareidi. He's Chareidi. He was born in Israel, grew up in Israel, Chareidi, speaks English. So I said, maybe I can send him up with him. So I had a long discussion with my brother-in-law, this brother-in-law who was his brother. He said, there's no way in the world a Chareidi guy will marry a Chardal girl. There's no way Chareidi and Chardal will mix. There's no way a shidduch could happen between them. I said, there are differences in hashkafa. There are differences in hashkafa. Ideologically, they're different. But I said, there's no reason it shouldn't work. For example, someone who opens bottles on Shabbos can marry a girl from family who doesn't open bottles on Shabbos. Chareidi Dati Leumi. We're not talking Dati Leumi. Even Dati Leumi, they have differences in halacha. What they say, Yoma Atzmut, they say halal, because the Rabbanim say it's worthy to say halal. Maybe they say with a bracha, without a bracha. Basically, they adhere to Torah and mitzvos. They follow Shomrei Torah and mitzvos. He said, there's no way a shidduch will happen between them. I said, I want to try it. I think it could happen. I talked to the girl first. I told her a little bit about the guy. He's a Chareidi guy. She had some questions, and then I told her, I said, you know what? My brother-in-law told me it'll never happen. It's definitely a Chardal and Chareidi person. And I said, I was discussing with my brother-in-law, and I said, what would happen if you went to Rav Chaim Kanievsky and you asked Rav Chaim Kanievsky, can a Chareidi guy marry a Chardal girl? Is it okay or not? What's the halacha? And I said, I'm not sure the answer. She said, the girl started laughing and crying at the same time. She said, it's a strange question, to say, of course, you would say yes, but then maybe, of course, you would say no. And she was laughing and crying at the same time. I spoke to the girl for about an hour, but I said, listen, there are certain things you have to, make stipulations at the beginning of the marriage. But I don't think it's a reason it shouldn't work. And she was ready to go out with the guy. I called the guy Motzei Shabbos. This was Friday. I spoke to the girl. I called the guy Motzei Shabbos. I spoke to him. I had spoken to him before. I mentioned in passing a couple of days before that the girl was a girl interested. I don't think I mentioned that it was Chardal. I said she's 9 out of 10. That piqued his interest. So I spoke to him again, and this time he quoted me, after about 3 minutes speaking to me, he quoted a Gemara in Shabbos. The Gemara in Shabbos says that anyone who says Hallel Shelo Bismano, it's an Aveira or something like that. I don't remember exactly the Gemara. And Rashi there says, like, you could feed him to the lions or something like that. So what does it mean, Hallel Shelo Bismano? So he interpreted, he said, Hallel Shelo Bismano is when you say Hallel Yom HaAtzmaut. So someone who says Hallel Yom HaAtzmaut, according to his interpretation of Rashi, is worthy. I don't even think Rashi said to feed him to the lions. I think that was his own word. You should feed him to the lions. He said, there's no way I'm going to ever marry a girl that's a Hallel Shelo Bismano. They say Hallel Yom HaAtzmaut. And that was the end of it. That was the end of my shidduch shadchan experience. I didn't get any shadchan's guilt. That's why I did it. No, I'm just kidding. I did it for the fun of it. I wanted to see if it would work or not. And I really, really thought when I made the shidduch that there's no reason it shouldn't work. Of course, Rav Chaim Kanievsky would say that a Chareidi girl could marry a Chardal girl. She's not even Dati Leumi, she's Chardal. She's YU. She's into Torah and mitzvos. It's very important to her. She wants the guy to sit and learn in base matters, to learn after the wedding. She wasn't asking him to go right to work. So after a couple of years later, I realized, the obvious answer to this question is that no, it'll never work. That Rav Chaim Kanievsky would never say that a Chareidi person can marry Chardal. And, basically it just happened in the news. This is Monday over here, I believe yesterday. I didn't check the news yesterday, but it was supposed to be that a new government was formed, a new coalition here in Israel. Naftali Bennett joined Yair Lapid and the left. Naftali Bennett's going to be prime minister for 2 years. He's Dati Leumi. He represents the Dati Leumi party, Amina. Ari Deri, who was the chairman of Shas, the Shas party, the Sephardi Chareidi party. He said when he heard that Bennett was joining Lapid, he said Rav Yosef used to say that Beis HaYehudi, the old Dati Leumi party, he said it wasn't called Beit HaYehudi, it was Beit HaGoyim. Why Beit HaGoyim? He said, Ari Deri said he thought it was very harsh. Rav Yosef to say something so critical like that. They're Dati Leumi, they believe in Torah mitzvahs, the Shomer Torah mitzvahs. To say something like that is pretty strong. He said when Bennett joined Lapid to form this coalition, now he understands what Rav Yosef meant. So take it what you want to take it as. You see, there's a big difference between Dati Leumi and Chareidi, and people think a marriage can never exist between someone who's Chareidi and Dati Leumi, and Chardal, including Chardal. I like to say that Chardal is there's two types of Chardal. There's regular mustard and there's Dijon mustard. And Dijon mustard goes better with the hot dog. So, if you're the right type of Chardal, I'm joking. If you're the right type of Chardal, it should work with the Chareidi. No, the truth is it should work between Chareidi and Dati Leumi also. There's no reason why a Chareidi person shouldn't be allowed to marry a Dati Leumi person as long as you work it out. Everyone has differences in Hashkafa. Hasidim and Litvish people often make shidduchim together, and Hasidim have minhagim that Charedim never heard of, make kiddush between 6 and 7 on Friday night, or sometimes there are differences in Hakpada in terms of Zman Kriyat Shema and things like that. A lot of things that Hasidim do differently than Charedim, and yet there seems not to be a problem intermingling between them. But apparently, Chareidi and Dati Leumi is considered intermarriage, and you tell me what you think about that. But it's, in my opinion, it's a little bit of sinas chinam. There's no reason the two shouldn't be allowed to marry together. That's the truth. That's what I believe. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. They have different, the main difference obviously is that they're Zionistic and they believe in the state of Israel and they're very patriotic about that. Dati Leumi. But I don't think that's a reason to stop marriage. I'm married to a Chareidi girl. I grew up modern Orthodox. I was Chareidi on par with her for a long time, and as the years have gone in marriage, I've become a little more closer to Dati Leumi. Closer. I mean, I'm a mix really of, it's a joke, but I'm a little bit mix of Chareidi and Chardal and Dati Leumi and modern Orthodox, and maybe a little secular. Some of my jokes, but But there's no reason a marriage can't exist. The foundation of a marriage, I played a game with my wife last night. They have this game. It's called a dating game, Perfect Matches. It's a game some people put out a couple number of years ago. It's used for, it's like 500 questions about to use on dating to make ask better questions to get to know the person better. You can use it on dating. You can use it after marriage. We were playing the game, so the question came up: have you ever read any books on marriage, on Jewish marriage? I said to my wife, yeah, I always love when I go to the English bookstores or even the other bookstores with I go to the English section with the dating books. I love the Jewish marriage books. Talk about marriage. I love to see what they talk about, and I'm always very disappointed because they all talk about the same thing, that marriage is a time to move out there and it's a time to work on your midos. That's the purpose of marriage, or the purpose of marriage is to build yourself in ruchnius together, or to build, Shem Tiferes, or to serve Hashem together. But let's be honest, marriage, the Gemara says, Akol Yodim Kala Lama Nechnesal Lechuppah. Everyone knows the reason people get married. You get married for gashmistic reasons. This is the point of marriage. That is basically the whole marriage. The other point of marriage, a little bit important, is that you have to state what you want and what you need. Has nothing to do with ruchnius. Marriage is completely not based on that. If your marriage is good in gashmius and what it's supposed to be good in, it'll be a great marriage. You can have all the ruchnius in the world. You can have all the same shitas and all the same halachas and all of the musar shmuzin you go through together and all the svarim you learn together. And you can have a terrible marriage if it's not good in kal nechasal lechuppah, lama nechasal lechuppah. So let's be honest with ourselves. There's no reason Chareidi can't marry Dati Leumi, and I really hope this trend stops. I hope intermarriage, in quotation marks, is allowed. And with that, we'll begin today's daf. Already spoke for 12 minutes. Daf Samach Daled Yoma. The Gemara on the top says, the first line, Rava Amar. The Gemara is answering what we said yesterday. The Gemara says we needed a riboy in the Torah to tell me that a sira mishtaleach, where it's mechusar zman, where it's not ready to be a korban yet, is possible to be a sira mishtaleach. So the Gemara says, why do you need a pasuk to tell me? If the goral, the lottery is only koveya something which is roy l'shem, it has to be roy to be a potentially good korban. Because it was zman, it was never roy to be a good korban. Rava Amar, third answer, Kigon Shahayo Lechola B'Sel Beso, B'Shachar Imo B'Yom HaKippurim. Rava says we're talking about the case was he did the lottery. You had the two seirim, one was LaHashem, one was LaZazel, and then after one got picked LaZazel, someone got sick, and the mother of the seir mishtaleach was shechted. In order, you're not allowed to shecht on Yom Kippur, but if it's for a chodesh yesh b'sakana, you're allowed to. V'chei gavna miyasir. So, and that's the Rava answer. So therefore, we're talking about. That's why it's called mechutzer zman, because there's an isser in the Torah of osav esbino. You can't kill a mother and a child in the same day. You can't shecht it. So, when you're going to kill a sira mishtaleach, so therefore you're going to be over on osav imo b'yom echad. So therefore, it's mechutzer zman. Now you need a pasuk to tell me that it's not good. So the Gemara says, maybe it really should be good. Why does the Torah say it wouldn't be good? What are you doing in the Shir Lazal? You're not shechting it. You're pushing off a cliff. You can't shecht Osov Esbeno B'Yom Echad, but you could shecht the mother, and throw one off the cliff. So the Gemara says, they said in Marava, they said in Eretz Yisrael, that pushing it off the cliff is its shchita. What does it mean exactly like a shchita? We'll have to discuss later on, but definitely for all intents and purposes, for the sister of Osav Esmino, it's considered a shchita, and therefore, that's the case. The Shir Mishalech becomes possible because of a problem Osav Esmino. The Gemara continues. The Mishnah continues and talks about let's say you have a Sira Mishal, you have the Sira Hashem, the Sira Azal, like did the Goral, and then one of them dies. So, what would be the halacha? What do you do then? So the Mishnah says you take two new the animals and you make a Goral, and then one's a Hashem, one's a Azal. So you replace the one that's missing. So now the Gemara has the following machlokas. Amar Rav, Sheni shebezug rishon yikarev, Sheni shebezug sheni yireh. Now you have two animals that are possibly, let's say it was a Shirla Azazel that died, so you replaced it with another Shirla Azazel. So now you have two animals that are alive that are Shirla Hashem. So which one is used last Shirla Hashem? So Rav says Sheni shebezug rishon yikarev. It's the sirachai of the first pair. Sheni shebezug sheni yireh. And the second sirachai that goes to grazes until it gets a mum, and then you sell it for an adava. He says the opposite. He says that the second one you use. The first one you let it graze. What's machlokas? Rav Savar Baalei Chayim Eina Nidakin. Rav says that Baalei Chayim, live animals, can't be pushed away, meaning since it was potentially Roy, the first Sir Hashem, so you don't push it away. Rabbi Yochanan Savar Baalei Chayim Nidachin. And Rabbi Yochanan holds that Baalei Chayim do get pushed away. Therefore, you have to use a second animal. My time with the Rav. What's Rav's reason? The Yalif Mechusar Zman. He learns from Mechusar Zman. Mechusar Zman, where the animal was not did not have wasn't the age yet where it could be offered as a korban. We learned yesterday that it's possible. Mechusar Zman la'aval gav the hashtalo chazi ki hadar mixi shapir dami. A regular Mechusar Zman that's used for a korban, when it's not 8 days old, so it's not fit. When it reaches 8 days old, then it becomes fit. Hachanami lo shna. So here also, it wasn't fit for a certain time. It got pushed away when its pairing died, and then it can become roy again. This is worse because there it never was roy, and then it became roy. So therefore, it wasn't really pushed away. But here it was originally slotted to be the Sir Hashem, and then it was pushed away, so it's worse. The Yalif Baal Mum over. He learns from an animal which gets a mum over, a temporary mum, temporary blemish. Baal Mum over. Originally the animal was good to be a korban, then it got a mum over. It's not good. You can't be makriv of an animal with a mum over. And then it gets better, the mum goes away, so it is good. So here also it shouldn't be. And how do you know over there that a Baal Mum over also is not pushed away? If it actively has a mum, a blemish right now, it's not a good korban. However, mum on yirtzu. But if the blemish goes away, then once it goes away, it's good. Rabbi Yochanan mi rachmana bahem. Hem who the chiavar muman yirtzu hakol dechuyin halol v'nidchu nidchu. He says, it says there's a meat over there. It says bahem over there. Mashklam bahem. Only over there, and mum over. That's the only portion of the Torah where it's nidcha and it's near v'nidcha that it doesn't get pushed away. But other dichuyin where it was near v'nidcha, then it does get pushed away. Rav answers, what does he use the word bahem? He learns it for a different teaching, that an animal with a mum can't be used as a korban. It's only when it's intact, when it's still a full animal. If it's a varim, if it's by itself. If it's by itself, but if it gets mixed with other animals which don't have a mum and you don't know which one is the Baal Mum, You could use it as a korban. Let's say you have limbs of a whole animal without a mum mixed with avarim with limbs of a balmum animal. And he says they get mixed together. This is Lezer Shita, and this is where Rav is learning from. He says, Bahem teaches me that once you were makir of one of the roshim, the head, so therefore, and that was a good one, that's from a tamim, so then even though you don't know what you're being makir, and for sure you're being makir of some bali mumim, heads of bali mumim, it's okay. The chamar mafidu karvakulan chutz me'echad mehem eight to the base of streifa, and Racham argue on him. They hold that's not true. That even if you're makir everything, but the even the last one, you can't be makir. It has to go and be burnt. The and what about Rabbi Yochanan? Where does he learn this from? He learned Bahem for something else. Nafkale mibam Bahem. It says two teachings, Bam and Bahem. One is to teach me that only over here there's a parsha of near Nidcha, it's not Nidcha. And the second teaching me that if they're mixed up together, it's okay. Either Bam Bahem or Darj, and Rav isn't Dorish two of these words. Rav he nami the Bali Chayim in Nidakin, Ibai Hai Nakriv, Ibai Hai Nakriv. Rav, according to Rav, it's not Nidcha, the first animal. So you should be able to offer either one. Why does he say the first one is the one that remains the Sirachai, and the second one is Yireh, Ache. Amarava, Rav Savar, Laka Rabbi Yossi, he holds like Rabbi Yossi, the Amar Mitzvah Rishon. The mitzvah is always better to do with the first thing. Hi Rabbi Yossi, which Rabbi Yossi are we talking about? You name it, Rabbi Yossi, the Kupos, when it comes to the Shkalim, and you have different baskets to put the money in. It's not Shalosh Kupos, Shalosh Sayin. You have 3 baskets of 3 Sayin each. Shebehen Tarmin Es Halishka. Where you use to take Trumas Halishka. Because of Alei and Aleph Beis Gimel. You write on these baskets Aleph Beis Gimel to know which one is the first one, to take the money from the first one for the karbanos. To know which coins were given first. Lahavi Hemana Rishon, Shemitzvah Rishon. The mitzvah is to do it with the first one. So the Gemara says, Dilma Shani Hasam, but the Ischazi Kamaisa, well, Ischazi Basraisa. There it's different. You go with the first one because at the time, at the first time when you're first coming to take a truma, the first one was fit and the last one wasn't fit. The first one was fit at a time when the last one wasn't fit. Here they're both fit at the same time. Elder Rabbi Yossi the Pesach. It's not a mafish pischa v'avad. He separates Karm Pesach and then he loses it. He consecrates it as a Karm Pesach and he loses it. And he separates another one instead of it. And before he's makar the second one, he finds the first one. And he has 2 of them in front of him. The Chum say you could bring either one. The mitzvah is to do the first one. If the unsamach element is, if the second one is better because of hiddur mitzvah, so they use the second one. Amarava, daikam asisen kavase de Rav, ubraise kavase de Rabbi Yochanan. Rava says our Mishnah is meduyuk like Rav, and the Brisa will bring later is meduyuk like the Shita of Rabbi Yochanan. Asisen kavase de Rav. Our Mishnah seems like Rav. Diksani im shel shem meid zesha Allah alava goral l'shem is kayim tachtav ve'idak the kai kai. The seeming simple explanation of our Mishnah is when you replace, you do know how a nuah grola for 2 other animals, so you replace one of them, so the other one from the first set remains. I don't know it's the one of the first pair or the one of the second pair. When it says Yamad Chai, it says in the pasuk Yamad Chai v'lo shechavero meis. It's coming to exclude the animal where its friend, meaning its partner, died. So Yamad Chai teaches me that you go with the second Sir La Hashem, and not the first one. My mashma. What's the implication? Where do you derive that from the words? Yamad Chai v'lo shekvar amad. Yamad Chai is in present tense, that it's now standing alive, and not that it was standing alive already previously. So you go with the second one. Tanan, va'od amar Rabbi Yehuda, nishpach hadam yimus ha'mishaleach, me'es ha'mishaleach yishavech hadam. The conclusion of our Mishnah on Samach Beis says, Rabbi Yehuda, it says that if you shafted the par of the Kohen Gadol, and the blood spilled before you shafted the Sir LaAzazel, the Sir LaHashem, I'm sorry, before you shafted the Sir LaHashem. So therefore, it's nidche yimos ha'mishtaleach. The mishtaleach, we forced it to die. It's nidche, even though it was nireh, it was good at one point, and the blood spilled of its friend of the par. So we know they're sprinkled both together inside the Kodesh HaKodashim, inside the Heichal. So therefore, Yehuda holds that you have to get a new pair. Or if the Sir LaAzazel died, so then you have to start again. So again, we see where's the Bishlam of Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Yochanan is it fits very well. You heard Rabbi Yehuda's sheet of the Rabbi Yochanan because it was near it. It was the Sir LaHashem was good at one point, and then before the blood spilled, after it spilled, it was pushed away. So therefore, you have to do everything again because nirvin nidche. Why should it die? It's just nirvin nidche. The Sir LaHashem is still alive. Live animals are not pushed away. You're right. I don't fit according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda sounds like Rabbi Yochanan. I'm only talking about according to Rabbanan. Bishlam l'Rav ha'pligi, Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbanan. So it makes sense according to Rav because this is the machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. Rabbi Yehuda is the one who holds Bali Chaim or Nidachin. Rabbanan would argue on him in the Mishnah. They're the standard anonymous opinion of the Mishnah, and they would say it's not pushed away. El Rabbi Yochanan on my pligi. According to Rabbi Yochanan, what did the Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan argue about? Rava says our Mishnah is meduyak like Rav. That's what. So therefore, it's more mustaber to assume our Mishnah is like Rav, not like Rabbi Yochanan. Let's conclude today's shir. Go out and make your shidduchim between Chareidi and Dati Leumi, however you want, Chareidi and secular, for those who want to try it. I think it should work. Bye.